Hey, it's Ayla, and you are listening to the Female Entrepreneurs Network podcast. If you've ever felt like your entire identity is tied to being everything for everyone, because you're a mom and you're a business owner, this episode is the permission slip you didn't know you needed. Because I see you, the mom who's always last on her own list, holding it all together, giving every piece of herself until there's nothing left but resentment, exhaustion, and guilt for even wanting to take a break. In today's episode, I'm sharing a very raw and real story about what happens when we stop taking care of ourselves and what shifts when we finally do. It's absolutely not me telling you to take a bubble bath or go get a pedicure. It's about reclaiming your right to exist as a whole person. And I want this to be a reminder that you maybe didn't even realize that you were waiting for, but you are allowed to be the priority of your own life. And when you do that, your family will be better for it. Let's dive into it.
Hi, I'm Ayla, and for over a decade, I've been dedicated to helping entrepreneurs thrive. Welcome to the Female Entrepreneurs Network podcast. Here, we focus on personal growth so your business can grow alongside you. Discover how to optimize your business, elevate your mindset, and truly feel and act like a CEO. This is more than just business, it's about transforming your entire entrepreneurial journey. Join me on this path to unlock your fullest potential.
Hello. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so glad to have you here with me today. In today's episode, I wanted to dive a bit into balance without feeling guilt. You are allowed to be the priority without feeling guilty. Because I want to know, when was the last time that you did something just for you? And the reason that I wanted to talk to you about this is that last week my husband was away for a work trip for a week. He does that every 3 months, so it's not happening that often. But whenever he goes, it's not fun around here. We are always, well, basically, how my weeks went with my husband away, I would get into a very much of an intense sort of survival mode. I would get very yelly. I would get angry. I would be yelling at the kids all the time, like I couldn't access any other emotion that I have. I would be running and flying all day long just in service of others. So, for example, last spring, summer, I don't remember, somewhere last year, we had, I think, a week also, maybe not even a full week, but we had a while alone. We have two girls. They're 5 and they're 2. So by then, maybe they were even 4 and 1. I don't remember. We also have 2 dogs. One of them is 8, but the other one is just a puppy. By now she's 15 months, I guess. But back then, she really was a puppy. So what happened was we had the weird sort of combinations going on where my oldest kid couldn't be alone with the puppy because she was being too rough with the puppy. My youngest kid couldn't be alone, period. The older dog couldn't be alone with the youngest kid. And it was just, there was no scenario in which I could do something without someone attached to me. And I remember wanting to bathe the kids. We don't bathe them every day. We do it every couple of days, unless they're really dirty. I had this whole thing planned out. On Saturday evening, I gave Milou, our youngest, a bath. And then on Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon, I think I planned that while she was doing her nap, I would bathe the oldest, Juliet, and then it would just all work out. So I did that. Saturday evening, I gave Milou a bath. And then Sunday morning, they were playing. And I was cleaning the kitchen or I was prepping dinner. I don't remember. I was in the kitchen and they were playing outside. I had to keep an eye on the dogs as well. And suddenly I realized that the kids weren't there anymore. I was just utter silence out there. So I ran outside and I was just calling their names, not finding them at all. So I started to panic a little bit, of course. I ran a little bit further. So we have the courtyard of the castle where their playthings are there. They have a slide and swing sets and stuff like that. So that's usually where they play. I can see them from the kitchen or at least hear them. So when I didn't hear them, I just ran out a little bit further into the courtyard. Then Juliet, she appeared from below one of the outbuildings we have. And there is a cave. It's not an actual cave, like a cellar. There's a cellar beneath it. And in days of yore, they used to, I don't know, store their wine there or food. I don't know. It's old. It's like 400, no, 17. When are we? It's like 300 years old. We don't have anything stored there. We haven't even touched, we haven't cleaned it, nothing. It's dirty. And then Juliet just appeared from below the house from the cellar. And she's with you, Mom, we're here. We're playing with the sand. And I was like, there is no sand in that cellar. What the fuck are they doing? And then Milou appeared, who I just remember I gave her a bath Saturday evening. She was just, she was black. She was covered from head to toe in what they were calling sand, but was actually just rotten wood that was all pulverized. So it was like a powder of rotten wood. It was in her hair, in her eyes, in her ears. It was everywhere. And they were so happy about it. And all I could do was be angry. I was so very, very angry with them because they messed up the whole schedule. They messed around with the planning of giving Milou a bath on Saturday and Juliet on Sunday afternoon because now I had to rebathe Milou and I wouldn't have time for the bath for Juliet, who also needed a bath. And it was just not working out with the dogs. And this is, of course, a very specific example, but this would happen every time that my husband left. We would just, I would run around constantly, day to evening, morning to evening. I would just be running around, taking care of my kids, taking care of the dogs, absolutely just blotting myself out, stuffing food into my mouth whenever I felt that my body needed food, but not having an actual proper meal. There would be no pauses for me. And as a result of that, there was no laughter. And that's I think it was that weekend that I realized that I was living in a very tough survival mode because I was just observing it. Like my 3D body was very angry. And then my inner voice, I was just observing it and questioning, why am I not splitting with laughter right now? I mean, she looks funny. She's covered in wood dust. This is a funny situation. The dogs are being funny. I mean, we have a puppy. Puppies are cute. And all I could do was just be angry. And I didn't have access to any other emotion. So I think that this actually starts because I know that there's a lot of moms who are feeling this way, who are always placing themselves last. They don't have time or are willing to make time for them. They're always in service of their little ones, of their households, of everything that needs to be done. Basically, there's this belief that being a good mom means having to come last in the order of things. Maybe it's not as prominent as actually thinking, oh, I have to be the last on the list to be a good mom. But I think that it comes from the baby time when our kids were like little tiny babies, because you have to put a screaming baby first. That's just what you do as a mom. If your baby is screaming, you're gonna go over and check, is the diaper full? Does it need food? Does it need sleep? Does it need cuddles? It's basically like the four things that you're checking. You're always responding to a screaming kid. And I think that we take that with us when the kids get older. We sort of forget to let that go. For example, as I said, they're now 5 and 2. And Juliet, who's 5, is still always complaining that Milou, who by now she's turning 3 this year, that Milou always gets her food first. Whenever I give them their plates, I always give Milou's food first. And that stems from the time that she was a baby and she would start crying from hunger because that's what babies do. They're just screaming, I think you're killing me. I'm so hungry. I think that you need to feed me now or I'll die. So I'm used to giving Milou her food first to either stop or prevent the screaming. And then Juliet, because Juliet was 3 when Milou was born, so she could wait. She had a rational mind where she knew food was coming. She didn't have to scream about it, so I could give her food second. But by now, Milou is almost just as old as Juliet was back then. And so I could actually give Juliet her food first, and then Milou can wait. But it's still ingrained in us like that Milou needs to go first. And I think that that's what we're taking with us from that baby time when our kids are little. We are so used to putting ourselves last in all these orders that we have that yeah, we just don't exist. We put ourselves last. And I know that for a lot of moms, this is causing massive exhaustion, burnout. And in my case, I noticed that there's a lot of resentment towards my kids as well. Whenever my husband's away, I get really pissed off that I just can't go to the toilet for once all by myself. Or I find myself muttering, why does it always have to happen when I'm in a shower? Because shit always happens when you're in the shower, or the crying always starts when you're on the toilet. When you have that one moment for yourself, that's the moment when things happen. And I noticed a lot of resentment towards them about this. Like, I deserve some time for myself as well? Those were thoughts that were running through my head. And I think that the natural reaction to that is to just put the pedal to the metal again and just put in your best effort to make sure that the kids are all okay before you go take that shower or take that toilet break. Or if I just make sure that everything is 150% okay, then the chances that something goes wrong while I'm in the shower are less. Except they're never gone. So you put in a lot of effort before you take the shower, and then inevitably something goes wrong while you're in the shower, and the resentment gets even worse because you're like, damn it. I thought I just prepared them, and even with all the work that I've done, I still cannot take the shower all by myself. I think also that we are very much losing touch with who we are beyond being mom. Before I started the Female Entrepreneurs Network and before I started down this new path of reaching the masses instead of doing just one-on-one coaching and client work, I was not living my vision, and I was very much stuck in this place that I'm just describing. And I often felt like one of those movie characters where you see the scene and someone's standing still in the street and then everybody passes by in a very high speed, like the rest is just moving on the regular and this person is just standing there. Or there's a scene when someone is just there, but the rest is playing out like they're not even there. And that's how I felt a lot of the time when I was in the kitchen preparing dinner and stuff was just going on around me. And I was slaving away at getting their dinner ready in time, at doing the dishes, taking care of the household, taking care of everyone else except me. And I felt so invisible while I was doing that. And I think the worst part of all this is if you're doing this on a regular basis, you're actually modeling this behavior to your kids. And I have 2 girls. I have to be a good example for them if I want them to improve this in their lifetime. I'm actually proactively teaching them to advocate their needs, to listen to their bodies, for example. I'm always encouraging them to take a rest when they need a rest, that they can say no if I ask them something and they're tired and they don't want to, that they can say no. It's not because mama says so. They have an option. They don't need to finish their plates when their body tells them that they're full. These are things that I'm teaching them. Listen to yourself. And yet here I am on the other end, absolutely not listening to myself and just being led by what else is going on in my life at that moment. I am being led by the dogs, by the kids, by the house, by what my husband needs, what my clients need. So that's not a very that's not a very good example. And I started to wonder who benefits when I am feeling guilty for wanting joy or wanting to rest or having ambition for building out a big company. No one benefits. Literally no one. And I think it's also, I don't want my kids, my daughters, to feel guilty for having needs. I would never deny them a visit to the toilet. If they told me I really need to pee, I would always say, okay, go, quick, go. If you need to pee, you need to pee. There's nothing you can do about it. And yet, when I need to pee, I can hold it up for 4 hours because suddenly everything else is urgent. And then it's 3 hours later and you're just going, shit, I still need to pee. I just put it towards the back of my mind. I would never do that to my kids. So, yeah, it ain't great. It ain't great. You are allowed to take up space. And in fact, I think that your family needs you to. Because one of the things I hear most from other mompreneurs is that even if before they were entrepreneurs and then they became moms, so they became mompreneurs and they are now noticing that there is very little joy in their life. It's all responsibility. Everything they need to do for their kids is a responsibility. Everything they need to do for their business is a responsibility. You want to be a good wife to your partner, which is a responsibility. You need to look good because society dictates that you look good. It's all responsibilities. Where is the joy in that? If you are allowing yourself to take up more space, your family becomes better because if you're taking up space to take care of yourself, it's easier to find joy. It's easier to laugh when the shit hits the fan. Taking care of myself, I've reframed it by now. I didn't think this before, but by now I think that taking care of myself is not an escape from motherhood as I used to see it. It's actually a deeper commitment to it. When I'm taking care of myself, I am more present. I am more patient. I am more energized. I am actually modeling that good behavior, those healthy boundaries, and in effect, by that, self worth. I show them that I'm worth of taking a rest, of taking care of myself, of saying no to others without an explanation or guilt. What happens when I do that? I actually stopped resenting them and I started enjoying them a lot. So, this has been a massive, massive change for me. Actually, in the upcoming episode that I'm airing on Friday, it's an conversation I had with Dr. Rihanna Mulcahy, and she's an absolute expert on the field of limiting beliefs. And we got to talking, and she actually said, I think it would really help your audience if we could clear a limiting belief of yours so they can see what happens in the thought process when we do this. So I actually cleared a limiting belief with her live in an episode, and I went very vulnerable and very open. It was a limiting belief I had about the feeling of being all alone. So again, the scene where you're just standing there isolated while life is passing you by. And this feeling would be a lot bigger whenever my husband's away. So the feeling of having to do it all alone, of not being seen, and the chaos that comes from that. She helped me clear that limiting belief. And I always think that when people say, oh, I cleared a limiting belief, that you just go, ah, and angels are falling from the sky and golden light and stuff like that. And it wasn't like that. It's just afterwards, she asked me, like, how are you feeling about it now? And I was like, there's nothing there. There's just neutral feelings. Like, that's weird. But there were no singing angels or, you know, sunbeams beaming me up or something. It was just neutral. So I didn't immediately see what was going on. But then last week, my husband was away again. And this time, there was no yelling. There was no anger. I actually felt a lot of love and a lot of joy for them, with them. For example, my youngest, she was really missing her daddy. And at one night, She woke up at like 3 or 4 in the morning and she was screaming and crying and that she had a bad dream about her daddy and her heart was racing and she would not calm down. Up until now, I've been a mom for 6 years. I've never actually slept with one of my kids in my bed during the night because my nights are holy. Like, I don't want them to get into the habit of climbing into our beds and sleeping with us. And it's just not something we do. We all very much appreciate our own space. And this time, I just realized she's not going to calm down. She's so upset. She's so in this panic. If I'm trying to put her back into her own bed, we'll be at this 2 hours from now. She would benefit so much more from just curling into my arms and trying to sleep there. So instead of even trying it, I just grabbed her stuff from her bed and I installed her next to me in my bed. And she indeed crawled into my arms and it took her a very long time to calm down, even when she was just laying there next to me. So I think it took her about an hour for her to calm down and to fall back asleep. So imagine what would have happened if I would have tried to put her back into her own bed. And I was just lying there and enjoying the feeling of her little hands grabbing my fingers and of the sound of her breathing and noticing how her heart rate calmed down. And not one moment did it pass through my mind the feelings of resentment that I would have had before, where I would have definitely gone, oh, this is messing with my sleep. I'll be so tired tomorrow. And oh, this sucks because I need to work. And now my whole planning is going to go to shit because she's in my bed. And nothing. I felt nothing of that. I just felt pure love for her and wanting to take care of her. And I realized everything that happens tomorrow can be adjusted. There's nothing more important than calming her down right now. And that was such a relief to have those kinds of thoughts and to, if I'm being honest, to feel that I'm capable of that kind of love and compassion and presentness in that moment without the resentment of the consequences of that. It was just, I actually cried when I was there, just out of pure love and out of relief that I am capable of feeling that. So yeah, that was amazing, absolutely amazing. And there are a few things that I did during the week to keep this feeling going because I think that we can't all be in an angelic state all the time. Things will turn to chaos at one point. So what I did were just a few things. I sometimes told them, Mama needs a break. And I would put in my noise canceling headphones, or I would encourage them to play alone. Last Sunday, so the day before my husband came back, my oldest, she had a really tough time. She was missing her daddy too, but she wasn't really crying about it in the night like our youngest was. But Sunday, she would not leave me alone. She was just there hovering in my aura, like one meter away from me. I had a Juliet shaped shadow attached to my body. And it was cute and it was okay. And towards the end of the day, I really had enough of it. I just needed space for her to be within 5 meters instead of just 1 meter. I couldn't, she was chattering constantly. And I was just like, oh, I need space right now. So I encouraged her. The sun was out. I was cleaning the laundry away and I encouraged her to go play alone for a little bit. And in the beginning, she was like, no, I want to stay with you, mommy. And I was like, no, mommy needs a break right now. 15 minutes for you to play in your room, in the hallway. I don't care. Outside where I can hear you, where you can hear me if you need it. Just leave me alone. And then she was like, okay. And she actually stayed away for like half an hour or 45 minutes. And she came back very happy because she needed the space and the rest too, even though she didn't know she needed it. But it was very good. And I was very proud for myself to just openly admit Mama needs a break right now. And I I cuddled her and I explained to her that I loved her very much, but that I needed a little bit of breathing space and that it wasn't because it was stupid to be around her, but that I just needed a little bit of peace and quiet to be able to take care of her later on. And she's nearly 6, so when I explain stuff like that to her, she understands it or she maybe grasps the concept, but it's turning out just fine. So that was really nice. One thing I did that was a massive, massive game changer was that I put the dogs in a kennel in the region. I brought them on Wednesday and I picked them up yesterday, and it was just the right amount of peace and quiet that I needed because taking care of two kids is something, but then right now the puppy is a teenager in dog years. She's 15 months, but she is rebelling and she's running away. And our terrain doesn't have a fixed fence around it, so she can exit very easily. And she'll just be gone for hours on end, don't know where she went. But then I'll hear from people in the village that they've seen her roaming around the cemetery and stuff like that. Like, okay, that's not great if that happens. She actually, the day that my husband left, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before that, another time, she was away. She ate something that was really, really rotten, and then she continued to throw up all around the hallway. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to deal with stuff like that again. So I decided to get help in the form of paid help by just sending them to a kennel where they can play with their little doggo friends all week long, which was an amazing solution for them. They had the time of their lives, and it was so good for me. And yeah, asking help like that or paying for help like that is absolutely a game changer if you're going to put yourself first and realize, what do I need to get through this? Well, I needed to get rid of the dogs. I love them very much, but I needed to get rid of them for the week. So I'm very glad I did that. I chose little moments where I just said, fuck it, whatever happens to the house, I'm having a moment. For example, I would have dinner, and inevitably my dinner is always ready when the kids are just ready eating theirs. So there's a misalignment there. And I realized that's fine. I actually value the time that I can sit down and eat my dinner while it's warm instead of either eating it when they're to bed and I am way over hungry and I'm just going, oh my God, and then needing to bring them to bed on an empty stomach. And no, so I said, okay, that's not an option. It didn't work out for me to have the dinners ready at the same time. And so I just said, okay, then this is how it goes. Then they are playing while I am eating. And when that happens, there is a possibility that they'll take the crayons and start painting on the walls, or that they throw something over, or that, I don't know, they get in a fight. Whatever happens when kids get together. And I just said, okay, that's fine. My dinner goes above a trashed house. There's nothing, I have a doubt there, but I think there's nothing that I can't fix in the short time that I'm having dinner and they're allowed to roam free and trash things. So I just said, okay, that's a rule. I'm having quiet, not quiet, but calm meals in this time because that just alleviates my mindset afterwards when I'm well taken care of and I've had just a calm moment to eat. I deserve that. And the last thing I did was I used the planner I have in Notion, and every day it's asking me to pick out 3 MIT's most important tasks, and I kept those very easy. Most important tasks would usually include like 1 or 2 business tasks and then absolutely 1 task that would put myself first, or something with the kids, or I was just very conscious in picking out tasks that weren't counting on my full mental attention or that would take hours and hours on end. I was very conscious about picking things that were fitting in the state of mind that I had, fitting in with the time I had, fitting in with the energy that I had as well, because there were a lot of broken nights and early mornings, and I got COVID halfway through as well, so I wasn't feeling well at all. I still wanted to get some things done, but MITs would also include like take a small walk for myself. That's the most important, one of the most important things I can do for my to-do list for myself today is just take a 20-minute walk without podcast, without a phone, without kids, just me in nature. I put those things on my most important task list, and that usually I put business tasks there. So putting in some self-care tasks there automatically for me made the link between, oh, this is a very important thing to do. And then it was self-care. And my mind was like, oh, yes, you're right. This is a very important thing to do. So it helped me very, very much. If this is resonating with you, then this week I want you to do one thing that is just unapologetically for you. Put it on your MIT list if you need. And do something that's for you. And when the guilt creeps in, you just say to yourself, this is me stepping into the woman that my children need to see. And that's enough, should be enough to shut up your inner voice that's telling you that it's not important or that there's more important things to do or that you're selfish for putting yourself first. Like, nope, this is me living out the example that I want my kids to see. I need this to be present for them. And this might be a task, but the result will be joy. So it's something very tangible that's translating into something very intangible, which are happy childhood memories. They deserve the happy childhood memories just as much as you deserve to take care of yourself. And if you need help with this and you don't know where to start, I have created a few exercises, which I aptly named, Where the fuck do I even start? And it will help you figure out where there's an overload of responsibility in your life, what you can let go of, what you can systemize. It's just there to help you, well, to start, to just create a path through the chaos that you have and just get on the road to a bit of clarity. And from clarity comes balance. And then these things will get so much easier when you do it. If you want that, I'll put the link in the show notes and then you can grab it. Where the fuck do you even start? All right. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will see you next week in another episode or Friday when the episode with Dr. Rihanna Mulcahy airs. Highly recommend listening to that. It's an amazing episode. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Female Entrepreneurs Network podcast. I hope you loved what you heard today. And if you did, it would mean a world to me if you could leave a review. Because believe it or not, reviews on podcasts are actually still used to make sure more people get to see this podcast in their screens and maybe click on it and learn something as well.